Hello race fans and welcome to round 6 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship, live from Daytona International Speedway, the world's centre of racing. It's Peter Mackay here in the commentary box on RaceSpotTV alongside my partner in crime, Chaz Draycott, ready for round 6 of an 8-round season here at the Porsche Club of Great Britain. Chaz, we're here at Daytona, a completely different circuit to what the drivers have experienced so far this season. Should be very interesting indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more different elements to this championship that, you know, the drivers have to think about over the course of a season, is that not all these circuits are all similar to each other. They're not similar layouts, and Daytona has such a different challenge, with so much of it being taken up, of course, by the oval itself. A load of slipstream in here tonight. You've got really difficult corners like the bus stop as well. We're going to see a lot of drama there because this RSR, while it corners so quickly, it's very, very loose sometimes, and I think people are going to maybe overdo it on the brakes. But look at the final 3 rounds we've got here, Peter. Daytona, Alton Park and Circuit de la Sarthe. We are in for a real treat at the end of this season.
You bet we are. Yeah, absolutely. We're in the middle of our stateside swing at the moment, having been to Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago. What a treat that was. Daytona is a new one to the Porsche Club of Great Britain after so many seasons. It is great to go to the high banks of Daytona. Alton Park in RSRs, well, what a combination that is going to be. A combination, to my knowledge, has never been done in the real world. Then, of course, a circuit that the RSR was really built for, Circuit de la Sarthe at Le Mans, where we close off the season on the 26th of April. One not to miss. This is how the standings look at the moment. Johnny Cullen leads the way by just 3 points from Christian Tsuruta. So close. Don't write off Austin Greatorex. He's just 13 points off the lead at the moment. Chris Byram sits in 4th with James Cummings in 5th. Oliver Carbadine is in 6th spot at the moment, joint on points with Tom Slater. Then it's Stuart Clark and Rob Sharp, also joint. Then Mark Johnson, Carl Sharkey and Byron Crawford round out your top 12. In the AM standings, well, it's Fausto Pinto who leads the way by just 5 points at this stage from Stephen Kershaw, and Ryan Penny, the surging Ryan Penny, just 7 points off the lead in 3rd. What a breakthrough season it's been for him. Danny Jones, the Haribo Bear, not too far back in 4th, with Andrew Shepard rounding out the top 5. Amrik Sashdev sits in 6th, followed by Ralph Meyer, Gilles Gardner, Heinz Meyer, and Mark Elvin rounds out your top 10. So the drivers just in the final couple of minutes in practice at the moment. Christian Tsuruta on the top of the timing sheets at the moment, a 140.886 for Christian. Just over a tenth behind him is Austin Greatorex, with Johnny Cullen, championship leader, sitting in 3rd. So the form book very much ringing true in practice, Chaz.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there are a couple of drivers at the top of this championship that will always be up there. You know, we've seen so many of them that are just incredibly consistent with their times, but we're treated to a great spread of pace in this field as well. You know, it's something that we really have to look at with a positive light. You know, there's so many drivers out there in this championship that are still relatively new to sim racing, or they're still learning the ropes in certain ways. I think it's really exciting to see just how they sort of get to grips with certain elements of the sim, even now, a couple of years after this championship has started. But you can see that there are some of them out there that have just known it since day one, and some that have been sim racing for longer, of course, and it does show true, like you say.
Well, it's great to see that Austin Greatorex not been faffing about with his livery for this week. The plaid of the Canadian team from Toronto. Austin's been using various iconic liveries so far this season, and this is the FAF livery, of course made famous by FAF Motorsports winners of the GTD Pro Championship in IMSA last season. Paul Riga, we know how fast Paul is. He is rapid, but my goodness me, he has not had the luck this season, Chaz.
No, he's definitely not. And you know, Paul is one of those drivers that since day one has always been up there in the championship, but he's just not had that sort of breakthrough that we'd expected him to have, and it's just such a shame to see it. He's only got 10 points to his name from the second round of the championship this season, down in 16th place. I mean, you come into this and you look at it on paper and look at previous results, and you think surely he's in with an outside chance. of being able to take the title outright. You know, he's got the pace. He just needs the luck on his side to do it. On a side note, though, how fantastic do these cars look? Railing it through the bus stop. It looks absolutely mental, doesn't it, how fast they go through there?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, these cars were running GTLM trim for many years in IMSA, and of course, taking in the 24 Hours of Daytona. Did win the race in RSR 14 form, but not the RSR 17. Curiously, so yeah, it's definitely a car that, of course, there's a lot of adjustability on it. And get this though. These RSRs, when running on low downforce trim, like here at Daytona or at Le Mans, the new GT3 RS road car with number plates and air conditioning and all the rest of it has the same level of downforce as an RSR in low downforce kit.
That's terrifying to say the least, isn't it? That is absolutely terrifying. But it just shows you, the level that road cars are at now. It's just amazing. They're really pushing the top of the envelope, and that sort of final 5% of performance that you can get out of a road car while it's still legal and still, has indicators and bodywork and doesn't look like something like the BAC Mono. It doesn't look like a purpose-built track day car. It's just amazing to see that we're at that sort of level of performance now. It's just beautiful. It really is. But it sort of gives me a bit of concern about the future. Where does that envelope get pushed to from that point? I'm not sure if that's a negative way of looking at it, but you need to think that these things always still need to have that headroom for more development, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I get the feeling that, the engineers are treating every, particularly at places like Porsche, I think engineers of super high performance cars, they're treating every internal combustion project as their last, because they never know when it's going to change. I think, and we are obviously on that transition point in terms of performance cars. We're well into electrification being rolled out in other parts of the automotive world. So I do think, it's a very, very special group of people that make the GT department cars, and the GT3 RS is really the kind of ultimate iteration of that. Some people say it's the GT2, but I don't believe so. I think it's the GT3 RS.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the level they've gone to is remarkable. I mean, but it is the first GT3 RS to not have a frunk, because of particularly the aerodynamics, that where the radiator is where the frunk used to be, that radiator basically really, really helps the aerodynamics like it would in one of Porsche's racing cars. So they've gone to the edge. The only point is your passenger will have to put the luggage on their lap.
What a shame. What a shame. Yeah, that's very true. But, it's interesting little things like that about the development of these cars, where they have to balance that practicality with performance. And, I mean, that's always been, especially for performance manufacturers, that's the real sort of sticking point, is you need it to still be an enjoyable driving experience. But it depends on the type of car, because some of them, you don't want them to have the creature comforts. You don't want them to have all the fancy frills and everything. But at the same time, you want to enjoy at least being in the machine rather than just having it for that sole purpose. I'm sure we both, between us, know a lot of people that will take a track-focused machine, drive it to the circuit, and then drive it home again the same day. You've got to think that there would be one part of the journey, or at least maybe two parts of it, that would not be quite as enjoyable as actually shoving it around the circuit. It's something that the manufacturers have to always keep in mind, and I don't envy them for that, I can tell you.
Yeah, definitely. I think the current GT3 road car, I think that's if that isn't enough for you, goodness me, God help you. But yeah, I think the GT3 RS is they can afford to kind of chuck the practicality out the window, because it's just that, it's just a racing car with number plates nowadays. Owner of a GT3 RS, the 991 edition, Christian Saruta, over the line. He goes in the flying bogey, 146.497, not an indicative time. So he'll go around to set another one. You have to be careful not to break track limits coming through the bus stop, the Le Mans chicane, as it's now known as. Rob Sharp's on top of the shop at the moment at 141.796. In the beautiful sort of part Sunoco style livery with the kind of chrome finish on it. Very nice. Rob's run that livery pretty much since he came into the championship, by my recollection.
Yeah, and he runs it in multiple championships as well, in many different forms. Long slide there as he comes onto the banking. But the thing is, the car just looks like it, and obviously, of course, Rob, looks like he handles it so elegantly there and just balances it beautifully. Here's Austin Greatorex flying to the line. Good God, that Fab livery looks great on that thing, doesn't it? Oh, I'm going to have a crisis if we look at that too much over the course of the race. Connery's going to have to hold me back. There we go, 141.199 for Greatorex, and instantly he's on the brakes, and he's going to try and get more on the board. James Cummings next up in the Flying Calippo, as it has been dubbed by Peter. Car number 2 makes its way around the banking once more. Look at the speed that they get up to there, with that noise as well. It's just a hell of a spectacle. We've really been treated this season with these cars. Raised a few eyebrows as the car choice to begin with this season, but honestly, I think it's been really mega. James Cummings now goes... Oh, doesn't actually... Oh, no, there you go. There's a bit of a delay on it. It goes up to 4th place. 1:41.796. Identical time to Rob Sharp, actually.
What, to the 1,000th. Well spotted. Yes, indeed it is. So Greatorex on the top of the shop at the moment. Saruta does hit his fastest lap then. He goes second quickest. So he will start on the front row provisionally at the moment. Johnny Cullen on row 2 at the moment, the championship leader, alongside Rob Sharp, who has got the nod over Cummings. I have to be honest, Chaz, I'm not quite sure how that is determined. If you're on exactly to the 1,000th, is it who sets it first?
I think it is who sets it first, yeah. Okay. I think they're usually the one that gets the time. I think it was the same in Jerez in 1997, in fact, when out of all people that could set an identical time, the first 3 cars on the grid did it. Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and then Michael Schumacher. And it's always going to be the one that did it first, I think, because, you know, if conditions get a little bit better later on, for example, you know, you'd want it to be the car that got there first as such. I'm not sure if the sim does calculate beyond 1,000th of a second, though, because I've seen it before where people will show up on a timing tower like we have on the left here as all zeros, but then when you look at it in the actual timing in the software, it'll show 0.01, for example, like it's rounded it up. So I don't know if iRacing calculates beyond that, but I think it's one of them where I'd rather not know. I'd rather it be 0,000ths of a second, because that's close enough in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty much a gold standard, isn't it, of 3 to the nearest, 1,000th of a second. That's pretty, I mean, that's just a whisker. Yeah. Really, really tight. So Saruta up to the line then to set another fast lap. Does he go to the pole? No, not quite. Not quite. He goes up into, stays in second.
Ooh.
And a little wiggle there to finish off his qualifying run. So I think that is all she wrote for our drivers. They've all had their 2 laps.
I think so. Yes, it's 3 laps actually. We've got Andrew Parker, Ralph Meyer, Amrik Sachdev's about to finish a lap as well actually, and he's currently the top of the AM class. Doing a lovely job is Ammo. Across the line he goes, and there is not an improvement there. 1:44.102 is his time. He remains at the top of the AM class. I'm just seeing if there's anybody further down that can challenge him, and no. Kershaw, Fletcher, Shepard, Pinto, they're all in the pits after doing their laps. I think Stephen Kershaw has invalidated his final time, Peter, because it's showing me that he's only done 2 laps, and he's been sat in the pits ever since, actually. There he is. So, yeah, he's not going to set another time and take on Amrik Sachdev. So it looks like, unless there's a big improvement from someone a bit further down, Sachdev gets AM class pole. Yeah,
he takes the completely fictional pole sitter's watch. So let's see what Andrew Parker can do in the Rothmans livery. 911 RSR up to the line. He comes in 21st overall at the moment. We'll hope to move forward, running the number 88 of new Porsche IMSA team, 80 Racing. Over the line he goes, 1:42.908. He does improve, but stays 21st. As Cullen goes to the top, Cullen at the last lap. 57 thousandths of a second. Johnny Cullen takes pole position at the death of qualifying from Austin Greatorex. What a statement that is, Chaz.
Fantastic stuff by Johnny Cullen. Leaves it right to the end, but that's the thing. Sometimes you need to get this car wound up. You need to get used to even the subtle differences in conditions from practice to the qualifying session. any tiny change in temperature or just the circuit getting that little bit more rubbered in can make all the difference. Sometimes people can get into more of a window where they feel comfortable with how the car behaves compared to others, as that was the number 80 machine of Andrew Parker running very, very wide for just a moment there. On his way onto the banking. He's done his third lap anyway now. He's just getting the extra mile or so in before the session wraps up. But Johnny Cullen, what a star. Beautiful, beautiful lap. Rob Sharp is fourth. He's going to be starting on the second row. Then we've got James Cummings and Chris Byram. And to be fair, we've got a bunch of the AM drivers all together. A few times this season, we've seen one AM driver streak ahead in qualifying, but this time we've got all 5 of them for the top of that class right together on the grid.
Yeah, that we do. That's great to see them all in a bit of a bunch, and it is going to be about pack racing here at Daytona. Johnny Cullen, the championship leader, is your pole sitter by 57 thousandths of a second from Austin Greatorex. Then on row 2 is Christian Tsuruta and Rob Sharp, with James Cummings and Chris Byram rounding out row 3. Row 4 is Paul Goffin and Stuart Clark, with Paul Riga inside the top 10, and Amrik Sashdev, your pole sitter in the AM class for 360 Financial Management. Stephen Kershaw will roll off from 11th. Then on row 7 is Andrew Shepherd and Fausto Pinto, the AM class championship leader, don't forget. Oliver Carradine and Byron Crawford are on row 8, with Tom Slater starting quite far down in 17th spot, and Danny Jones will start from 18th. Then it's Ryan Penny, Gilles Gardner, Andrew Parker and Kim Such, with Mark Johnson and David Patching rounding out row 12. And finally it's Ralph Meyer and Mark Elvin will start in 26th position. Right, here we are, we're all ready to go. The revs begin to rise. 4-litre flat sixes engaged, and here's a little wiggle from their getaway on the banking, but Johnny Cullen's got it going as they head into turn 1. Then he's got a couple of car legs back towards Greatorex, and it's going to be Tsuruta who fits in third, with James Cummings there in fourth. We've got a spinner behind, I think. Big puff of tyre smoke coming up then as they come into the International Horseshoe for the first time. No problem at all from our leaders, and a great getaway from our pole sitter, Johnny Cullen.
Yeah, Cullen did a beautiful job. Great launch off the line. Andrew Parker was the car that had an issue, but it was actually off the line in general. I think Gilles Gardner had a bit of a moment at turn 1 as well, but Parker lost 5 places as soon as he left the line. As Kim Such is off. Kim Such is off in the background and is having an issue, according to my software. He's hidden behind the tyre wall. Well, not even a tyre wall, is it? He's there somewhere in the bright green machine. It's easy to have contact on the exit there. Mark Elvin's now having a problem. But it's so easy, isn't it, on the exit of the International Horseshoe to have problems, Peter, as everybody tries to figure out their own line and sort of reconcile where they were.
Oh dear, Mark Elvin's got damage to the rear left corner. And who's that around? That's Andrew Shepherd in the Scuderia Chicken House. Oh dear. So the Scuderia Chicken House bone is broken there, and Johnny Cullen leads, but Austin Greatorex is right on his tail now. The effect is, how is the draft going to play here as well? Quite unusual to have all RSRs in a single class and in the fixed setup. It's got quite a high drag rating on this fixed setup, so that's going to see how that's going to play in the draft as well. Greatorex is right there, right in the draft of Cullen, and I think, is he going to go for the bump draft and try and forge a bit of a breakaway? Yes, he is. Yeah, so this is very much a NASCAR racing tactic. Instead of going by and hitting the air that you might not be able to break through anyway, bump draft your opponent and try and push forward and make a breakaway.
I think some of the drivers further down the field that are a little bit less experienced with doing that need to be really careful here tonight. It's very easy with the low nose on this car and the quite high rear end, it has to be said, apart from the diffuser. It's very easy to lift the rear end of this car off the ground, and I think if we get people pushing their luck a little bit too much with that, there's going to be a couple of incidents here tonight if they're not mindful of that. Amrik Sashdev still leading the AM class here. He's got Chris Byram right in front of him in the Chris Akabusi tracksuit car. What was the one, Mr. Motivator? And he's also got Stephen Kershaw right behind him as ammo, and Stephen, of course, right up there in the AM Championship. Speaking of right up there in the AM Championship, Fausto Pinto has been off, as here is, you see Andrew Parker going completely backwards there at the start. This was Kim Such's getaway, and you can see he's in quite a bit of clear air here, Peter, so I wonder what's going to go down here into the first couple of corners. Looks like a bit of argy-bargy ahead as well.
Yeah, quite a bit of it, yeah, and Mark Johnson did a superb job to avoid the slightly delayed Parker coming off the start line as well. So did well to avoid the trouble. So Mark Elvin on the outside of Kim Such here. Kim Such is in the bright green Kermit the Frog car. Elvin in the dirty Mankini, and quarter panels in.
Yeah, he just came back over to the right-hand side, I think, expecting Kim to be all the way over there, and then that's Elvin's off. Oh, he loses the back through the kink and smacks into the barrier. And is he going to hit the other tyre wall as well? No, it's just going to stay on the grass and go out wide. But it's just that tiny bit of contact. It's so easy to unsettle this car because it's really on the limit of adhesion. And there is your race leader, currently on the limit of adhesion as well. Oh, no, not race leader, actually. I thought he looked a bit wide, and Greatrex is through. Yeah,
Greatrex has made the move then in the number 13 Faf car through the International Horseshoes, got by Johnny Cullen, and James Cummings has made a good move forward as well in that process. And Rob Sharp right there as well. Saruta's had a pretty steady start to the race, not ideal for him. He's back in 5th. And remember, he's only 3 points behind championship leader Johnny Cullen. So this race really matters for the outcome of the championship, because to be honest, Chaz, going to Oulton Park next week, I think that's going to be the toughest driving challenge of the whole season. If you get it wrong at Oulton Park, you are in a world of pain on your days.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Oulton Park, you know that I do. But it is a massive challenge. It's a huge pain in the backside for drivers. It really does demand a lot from people. That is Amrit Sashdev, is it not? Out of the lead of the AM class. Has he looped it himself on the exit, I wonder, or has he had some help? Gets back up onto the banking now. He's going to lose a spot there to Tom Slater in the Thomason whiskey machine. And around the outside of him as well goes Oliver Carwadine. I love that camera shake there. That's fantastic. As they fly along. Oh, I went all tense then, getting excited about that. It's just amazing to see it and hear them screaming. Doesn't look like any damage on Amrik's car, but I imagine a little bit of damage to the ego, potentially.
Maybe we'll have to go full NASCAR with that camera angle and ask our producer Connery to crank it up.
Yeah.
To do a flyby. So let's see what happened to Amrik. I think it had already happened by this point. Now, Kershaw behind it. Oh, yeah, just asked for the power. And there he goes. They do have traction control, these RSRs, but there is a limit of what they can do. So maybe it's a little bit too much steering. You have got quite a lot of steering lock on coming out of that corner onto the super speedway. And yeah, just asked for a bit too much power. Greatrex leads then from Cullen, from Cummings, and then Rob Sharp not far behind. And they're dropping Saruta. So is Saruta, is he carrying damage, or is it just that he has lost the draft? He's lost the lead bunch. He's missed the train.
Yeah, he's not quite sticking with them here, is he? I think maybe if he has lost that draft, then he's going to be in a world of pain of his own. But how great has James Cummings been this season? This number 2 car, he's really clicked with this machine. It's been fantastic to see. You know, he's been a favourite of ours for a couple of seasons. You know, he's always up there. He's always challenging some of the top guys in the championship. But now look at him. You know, he's up there with Cullen and Greatrex. He's got Rob Sharp behind him as well, who's been another absolute revelation in this machine. I love seeing it, and it's great to have that, because I mentioned before that this car, it did raise a few eyebrows to sort of use just this car at the start of the season, but it's been wonderful. It's been absolutely great to see it used on its own. You know, it's not been a sort of support act to a prototype championship or anything above it. It's just been the star of the show and the only star of the show. It's great. You mentioned the traction control as well, but I think with the traction control this car's got, because it is so limited, you get that horrible moment where it does let that much slip out that you can lose the rear end, but then the traction cuts in to stop that wheel spin, and you can't then control it yourself and then get on with it how you want to. So it sort of just gives you this lazy spin, doesn't it? It's a real painful moment to have, as Cullen has to back out of trying to go around the outside of Greatrex, and this is an intriguing prospect now to have these guys at the front, because James Cummings could certainly be in with a great chance of even taking a win here if it goes to pot.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be careful, because they've got lap traffic coming up in the form of Mark Elvin as well, and they'll hope that it'll get by on the super speedway, but you never know with lap traffic. It can be unpredictable from time to time. So yeah, Greatrex, Cullen, Cummings, they'll have to be aware of that, and they don't want it. None of them want to lose that lead bunch. If you lose the lead bunch, it's very difficult to fight back, particularly with we've only got 7 minutes left in the race, and Ammo's off again.
That's Gardner, isn't it?
Gilles Gardner, thank you. Yes, it is. Very similarly painted car.
They are.
Oh dear.
That's
Gilles,
the
the
as well.
the master painter, and photographer also. I noticed he was at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Did some very nice photographs from that as well. And just locked up, missed his braking point, locked up, and biff into the wall.
Oh, he was unlucky with that though, wasn't he? The way the rear corner caught the tyre barrier and then popped it forwards into the solid metal barrier as well. Nearly ended up back at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, went that wide off the circuit, but still cracks back on with the job at hand. And here is Johnny Cullen cracking on with the job at hand, with James Cummings just behind him. On board now with the Calippo. Hopefully it doesn't melt in the Daytona Beach sunshine. But look how close the leaders are together. They've definitely got the pace in that midfield over James, but look, it's just enough here to keep him with them. Listen to it on the limiter. Oh, it's just a dirty noise.
Cullen's going for around the outside. I tell you what, Graderex says no way, but Graderex has had to brake really deep into the corner to keep Cullen at bay. But Cullen had a go there. That was very, very brave from the championship leader. But he'll have to try another way. But there's a part of my soul dies hearing that poor car on the rev limiter.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. You know, it sounds absolutely amazing, but at the same time, it's just, you think, the poor car. It's just painful. Here's Sashdev, third in the AM class, maybe about to be fourth as Ryan Penny puts the pressure on. Just in front of them is Mark Johnson, then Oliver Carwadine a couple of seconds up the road. Drew Fletcher going well in second in the AM class at the moment. Mark is, of course, back in the Stars and Stripes Legends Racing mobile. Looks gorgeous. But Ammo will be a bit frustrated with himself for that mistake, won't he, Peter? He's hoping to make a comeback through the field now, but it's going to have affected him a little bit, losing the back end of the car and having that problem. And he actually only just got overtaken by Mark in the last sort of few moments before we switched over and looked at him then. I can tell you Mark Elvin's had an issue as well, unfortunately, and gone back to the pits. So I think his race is over.
That's a shame. And of course, remember, we have our reverse grid. 20 cars are reversed for the feature race. So at the moment, our pole sitter for race number 2 would be David Patching. He's sitting 20th at the moment, although got Kim Such right behind, 9/10 of a second behind. So if you can catch that reverse grid, it can really transform your chances. It just seems like Tsuruta, because he lost contact with that leading bunch, and he hasn't been able to make it up again because of the draft given by those cars in the group. That slipstream of the car in front just breaking the air in front. If you're a cyclist and you've ever been behind a tractor, you'll know exactly what that feels like. It just really makes it a lot easier to breaks the wind effectively. And try and do that with a straight face as well.
I did have to sort of hold my cheeks in.
I couldn't help. I had it loaded up as well. The Mankaty, which unfortunately is out the race. Mark Elvin's car. He's had a few skids in that car today.
It certainly has, yeah. And he's left his marks on the barrier as well.
Yes, he has.
Unfortunately, this is Stephen Kershaw, the AM class leader, doing everything right at the moment. He's just ahead of Byron Crawford. Byron's been very under the radar this season, hasn't he? To be fair. He's certainly been sneaking about and scoring points where he needs to, but just not been sort of standing out like he has done in previous championships. He's won the AM Championship before as well, let's not forget, so he knows what sort of position Stephen's in now, coming into the final couple of race meetings of the season. And we look back now from the FAF Porsche of Austin Greatorex. Johnny Cullen's in there somewhere behind that gloriously massive rear wing. You can see the Calippo's definitely not melting away there. James Cummings is in this. Rob Sharp is... He's not quite within a shout, but he's got enough slipstream. But look at that, yeah, Cullen flying around the outside. And there's no sort of NASCAR tactic here, is there, Peter? He's really going for it now. He's not backing out at all.
No, Cullen obviously lined it up from the bus stop there and got the run and got enough of a run to get the overlap. Of course, as we heard, the cars are on the limiter in the draft, so, you know, they're only going to lose speed popping out the draft unless you get a really superior exit from the Le Mans chicane, formerly known as the bus stop chicane, and that was enough for Cullen to get the move done on Austin Greatorex. So, and the thing is, these moves are being made without really slowing the pack up, which is not what Christian Tsuruta wants to hear. He wants them to start battling and slowing each other up, but Cullen and Greatorex, they're a bit smart for that. We must add that Greatorex, we're not going to see him at the next round at least, because he's away on a track day trip at Zandvoort and Spa.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, we mentioned that last time out, didn't we? And I mean, it's a hell of an excuse to not do the sim racing side of things. I mean, sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be doing this, that, and the other. I'm going to be watching paint dry." And you think, "Well, why aren't you racing?" Unfortunately, Mark Johnston's just had a bit of a drama. He's just been off the road for a second, lost a couple of places. He's just dropped down to 16th position behind Ryan Penny and Amrik Sashdev. Ryan has actually got past Amrik now then. And it wasn't long before Mark Johnson went off either, so I'm not sure if the two were related. But this lead trio, almost quartet, is really intriguing right now, because will we see Austin Greatorex go back for the move once again? I love this camera. That angle is so cool. Like a big swing camera as they make their way around the banking. On board now with Greatorex. He's going to batter it off the limiter, but is he going to go for the move? No, he's just going to give Johnny a little bit of a kiss there. They just need to be careful around that bit, don't they, when it comes to the tri-oval itself, and they have to start putting a bit of steering lock in. All it takes is for them to brush against the back of the car in front, and you can so easily just take a bit of weight off and over-rotate it, can't you? You really have to have your wits about you when you're doing that.
Interesting there, Cullen and Greatorex both pushing the front wide there, just going so deep into that corner. Cullen trying to draw Greatorex into a mistake, Greatorex trying to push Cullen into a mistake. Fantastic stuff between Cullen and Greatorex. Really high quality stuff, proper formation flying. We're on to the last lap then as well. So has Cullen gone too early? Has he left himself exposed to an attack from Greatorex here on the last lap as they come up towards the super speedway section for the final time in this heat race? Then Johnny Cullen, the 666, the championship leader, has got Greatorex right behind him as well. Doesn't look much like it just now, but here comes the draft. Here comes Greatorex getting that invisible toe from Cullen's RSR up ahead. Now, has Greatorex just left himself a little bit of space to try and maximise his exit? It's all about the exit here, out of the bus stop chicane. Slightly different entrance lines as well. Greatorex trying to keep it as tight as possible. Here he goes then. So it's number 13, Austin Greatorex. Can he get the run to the line? It's Cullen who's got it by 0.3 of a second at the moment. But here comes Greatorex then in the draft. Cullen is on the low line trying to defend at the moment. Is he going to stay there? Is he going to pop out and throw the block? He goes up high. He goes up high and then throws the block down again. Johnny Cullen, and then it's just going to nick it at the line, I think. Yes, just. So Johnny Cullen goes up high and then throws the block down there. So Johnny Cullen is your winner then from Austin Greatorex. Whoa, Paul Riga wins a drag race with Stuart Clark and Chris Byram. Wow. And Stephen Kershaw in 10th position. He is your winner in the AM class, and he pulls quite a number of points actually from Fausto Pinto, who gets drilled over the line.
Oh dearie me, that was a little bit scrappy, wasn't it, as they crossed the line there. That was Ralph Meyer there making contact with him. Well done to Stephen Kershaw winning the AM class, but that was really good mind games that by Johnny Cullen, because even if he did move up and try and break the draft, he knew that he could, at least that would stop Austin Greatorex getting such a massive run on him around that final tri-oval. So no matter what he did, it was going to benefit him by going up high, because it would be either a longer route or a slower route for Austin Greatorex. Really good stuff by Johnny Cullen. Great race between the pair of them though, and what a fantastic podium as well for James Cummings.
Yes, it was. Yeah, he was there all the way through. So Johnny Cullen confirmed as your winner then by 31 thousandths of a second, with James Cummings in third. Rob Sharp, great drive to fourth. Christian Tsuruta second in the championship in that tight fight with Cullen. Well, he drops a few points, finishing in fifth. I think he'll be disappointed with that. Paul Riga was sixth after that really close drag race to the line between Stuart Clark himself and Chris Byram. And Byron Crawford came home in ninth. Stephen Kershaw, second in the AM class coming into this round, only 5 points behind Fausto Pinto, and he slams in a win there to really signal his intent to fight for that crown. Paul Goffin was 11th, with Drew Fletcher in 12th, Ryan Penny in 13th, Amrik Sashdev 14th, with Oliver Carverdine and Mark Johnson next. Then it's Fausto Pinto, 5th in the AM class, and will likely drop his lead in the AM class to Stephen Kershaw. Got one more race to go, don't forget. Ralph Meyer was 18th, with Andrew Shepard 19th. Then the last few, Kim Such, David Papchik, Gilles Gardner, Danny Jones not making it to the flag on the lead lap, and Mark Elvin and Tom Slater finishing the race in the garage. Well, what an opening contest. I mean, here at Daytona, Chaz, it's always going to be tight finishes, races to the line, and it was impossible to call who was going to come out on top there.
Yeah, it was a very busy race, wasn't it? There was so much going on, so many people trying to line moves up for a little bit later on. There's a lot of mind games that go on at circuits like this where you've got a lot of slipstream to think about. It's not just a case of outdriving the other drivers, because we can all sit in slipstream. We can all just crawl up to the back of the car in front. It's the easiest time to try and overtake when you've got something like that on your side. So I think it's interesting that it keeps them all together, though. It obviously provides us with a better race. It provides the drivers with a better race as well, because they've always got somebody to fight with, and they've always got someone to enjoy being around, so long as they don't lose that toe. But I'm surprised by Tsuruta in that one. It just wasn't anywhere. It wasn't anywhere to be seen. Obviously, still, it's good championship points, but it's not what we've seen from the Flying Bogey before. He's just not been able to perform quite at the level of the guys ahead of him. And, Rob Sharp and James Cummings, they were fantastic in that race. The top two, of course, were the stars of the show. But there's a lot of drivers up there that could certainly surprise us even into the last couple of rounds of this championship, I think.
For sure, yeah, especially on the quite interesting variety of circuits that we've got coming up over the next few weeks. Of course, Oulton Park is just very much a pure driver's circuit. There's no gimmicks there whatsoever. It is just pure who's the quickest over a really difficult circuit. Le Mans will be much like what we see today, I think. A lot of drafting and a lot of moves on the brakes, etc. Certainly a few more opportunities to make regular passes if you want to. But it will be fascinating to see what happens there. I reckon Tsuruta must have lost that leading pack early on, and that was it. It never came back to him. Tsuruta, Cullen and Greatorex were very clever, weren't they? They did make moves on each other, but they only made them if there wasn't going to be a loss in time. That was the thing, is that they were really clever, because if they just started dive bombing each other, Tsuruta would have been on them, and they definitely knew that.
Yeah, it's like when you watch teammates work together, in a race like this, and they try and break away from a pack behind. They'll always let each other go by on a straight, and just, if they can cruise by, get in front before a braking zone, for example, and not lose time collectively, then that's what they ought to do. And those two guys, even though they were racing each other very hard, they knew that, and they certainly made it work for them, because it didn't allow James Cummings enough of an opportunity to catch up. It didn't even back James up into Rob either. There was no one else in that battle from where they were standing. They could only think about those two at the front, and that's exactly what you've got to do. You can't worry about the people that are 2 positions behind you. You have to worry about the guy immediately behind you, because he's the first threat that's going to get to you.
Absolutely. It's great to see so many people joining us on RaceSpotTV. Great to have your company. Ryan Parkins, the King Hippo. He's in the house. Yes, royalty indeed. Yeah, he says, hello, Porsche race fans, as well. Arjuna Kankapati said, my bed is back. Yes, the green screen is packed away for moving, Arjuna, so you get the lovely antique Chinese marital bed in the background, in the spare room. Add that one up. And Team Horny Racing, hello. Tom Weston, good to see you as well. Charles Draycott Media, who's that? Oh, trolls. So yes, great to see you all here on RaceSpotTV. Warm-up has mercifully finished, so we can read the grid for race number 2 before we get ourselves cancelled. Dear. So we saw Johnny Cullen win the race in race 1. He will start from 20th position in race number 2. Can he forge his way forward? And can he finish ahead of Christian Tsuruta? We'll see. Andrew Parker and Andrew Shepherd are your front row, with Ralph Meyer and Fausto Pinto in row 2. Then it's Mark Johnson and Oliver Carbadine. Row 4 is Anric Sachdev and Ryan Penny, followed by Drew Fletcher, Paul Goffin, Stephen Kershaw and Byron Crawford. Then in 13th is Chris Byram, with Stuart Clark, Paul Riga, Christian Tsuruta, Rob Sharp and James Cummings rounding out the top 18. Then it's our top 2 from race 1, Greatorex and Cullen. Kim Such, David Patching, Jill Gardner and Danny Jones round out the first 12 rows. Then it's Mark Elvin and Tom Slater who start at the back of the grid. So, the drivers lined up ready to go. We saw a few struggle off the line in race 1. Let's see if they can get it right here in race number 2. Drop that clutch, get it at just the right bite point. The rest begin to rise, ready to unleash 500 horsepower here on the high banks of Daytona in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. Oh, it's a little shudder there from Andrew Shepherd, and it's going to be, from Andrew Parker, and it's Shepherd and Meyer who go right around the Rothmans driver, and it's going to be Shepherd, and there's going to be a chicken house car who leads the way from Ralph Meyer. Then it's a pole sitter Parker there in third, and Fausto Pinto and the Dempsey Pinto machine in fourth. He's right there, as is Enric Sashdev in fifth. So good clean start from our leaders.
I can tell you he's had a fantastic start, and that's Tom Slater. He's gained 5 spots already in just a couple of corners in the 53. He's way further down the order, though, but still, he's had a great getaway, but fantastic stuff up front. Shepherd leading Meyer, Parker, Pinto, Sashdev, Carwadine, Johnson, Penny, Goffin, and then Crawford in 10th position. Zaruta's gained 3 places, and it's important now for Christian to start ahead of his main championship rivals and the real tough nuts to crack at the front of the order. The Chicken House machine leads the way for now. Ralph Meyer just behind him. Andrew Parker watching him. He's had 2 terrible starts tonight, though, as Andrew, so he's going to be hoping to turn that around now. He's the highest placed pro driver in the field, though, so he needs to make sure he uses that to his advantage. Well, here we go, onto the banking for the first time. What a sight and a sound this is.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we've seen Christian Saruta in the Flying Bogey make really good starts in these reverse grid races. He hasn't quite got the results, though. The master of the reverse grid races so far this season has been Austin Greatrex. Off for Ralph Meyer. I thought there was a dodgy line going on there, going through the bus stop as well. Meyer will, almost by default, will have served his slow down penalty for cutting the corner there as he'll get back up to speed again and then on to the banking. Let's get another look at it. He's getting a good draft on Andrew Shepherd here. Cold tyres as well, don't forget. I wonder maybe if Meyer just wasn't quite anticipating the extra speed from the slipstream there, and just cuts it, and he loses several positions of all the drivers just flowing through there as well. So painful, but gets going with no damage as well. Big send there from Fausto Pinto. A bit of shoulder action. Big double trouble there for Andrew Parker. No, milady.
No, my lady, indeed. That was Mark Johnson that got into him there. David Patching's off. Drew Fletcher's off. Drew Fletcher is having a drama, and he's had a massive shunt before the kink even. Not sure if he had contact on the way down. Oh, it's very broken. He's getting it out of the way. But that is a very broken car. There was a bunch of people involved, and that's the problem, isn't it, Peter? When there's an incident down there at the International Horseshoe, it's so difficult for it to get sorted out cleanly on the exit. Pinto flies down the inside into the side of Parker, and then he gets smacked into by Mark Johnson, and already around at the back is David Patching. It's not his idea of heaven, at least. And this is what happened to Drew Fletcher. Oh, he gets tagged from behind. Now, who was that? Was that Riga? Oh, dearie me.
Yes.
The physics did their thing there.
I think it was Riga, yeah.
I think he just wanted to give him a bump, didn't he? Just a little bump draft or something.
That definitely wouldn't have passed its free health check at Porsche Centre Chester, that's for sure.
No.
Whoa!
So Fletcher sends it on Saruta.
Great awareness from Saruta, because he saw the writing on the wall there, or the car on the inside more accurately. And
yeah, Drew was braking because of the incident ahead, expecting maybe something more to happen. Unfortunately.
Pinto going for the right around the outside of Shepherd and just can't quite get it pulled down in time. And now Pinto's thrown into the clutches of Oliver Carwadine. He had a pretty quiet race one, it must be said, but the 11th, 10th driver, he's going to go for second. Here he is, so he's going for second, and there's a hand gesture for that also. And Fausto Pinto drops back into third, so nearly had the lead, nearly, and just didn't quite get it right, and Carwadine just snapped the chance.
I think Parker's going to be calling him Fausto Punto now, to be fair, after that one. And I don't mean that he's going to be named after the small Italian hatchback. But Carwadine making waves right now, and it's exactly what he needs to do. 4 places gained in this race so far. Greatorex has gained 10 spots and moved up to 9th. Zaruta's gained 9 and moved up to 7th. And where is Johnny Cullen? Johnny Cullen's down in 22nd place still. Did he get caught up in some dramas there?
Must have done, yeah, because Greatorex, he's up to 8th, Saruta's in 7th, so yeah, Cullen has definitely been left behind. Johnny Cullen in the 666.
He's had a moment off track actually at a similar time to Danny Jones. As what was going on there? Someone was definitely slowing down.
So this is a replay of the race start then. Looking at Johnny Cullen just at the back of shot, he's got James coming just ahead, Austin Greatorex down on the low side. We're on board now with Cullen. So whacks it in the first gear on the clutch, gets a good launch, looks for a little bit of a gap. Greatrex closes it as well. It's very wisely goes down to the low line and then onto the brakes, slowing down. You've got to be really careful here as well, just waiting for the road to open up in front of you. Then onto the power, into second. Nice short shift there. All fine so far. Greatrex up ahead and Cullen really taking his time and then goes for a big move and pulls out of it. That's good stuff there from Cullen. He pulled out of it. It was going to close on him. So it wasn't at the race start then. Let's have a look then for Cullen coming through race in lap 2 or 3. Hard on the brakes. Cummings has got a bit of rear left damage there, interestingly, in the Flying Calippo. Either that or he's fitted a Mansory body kit in the half-time break.
Oh dear me.
There's contact with Kershaw, and there the patience ran out, and then Beth gets hit by Slater. Oh, big damage to the rear right.
Yeah, indeed, and there was a bunch of cars there that all slammed on to avoid that, and great awareness by them. Sometimes you can't avoid such contact, but yeah, that was a big shame for Johnny Cullen, and it's the moments like that, really, Peter, that can shape a championship. You know, he just tried to send it up the inside, he tried to put a bit of a rush on things, and unfortunately now it means that between himself and Austin Greatrex, there's 13 positions. Greatrex is now 7th, 12 places gained. Tsuruta is 6th, 10 places gained, and the two of them continue to carve their way through the pack. Amrik Sashdev is going to be the next victim of this one. Oh, dearie me.
Yeah, and remember, of course, Greatrex has got to miss a round, so and Tsuruta has already missed a round. He missed it with a drop week, and he's 10 points ahead of Greatrex with that missed week. So Tsuruta then is all of a sudden the danger man, the flying bogey. It's pick it, lick it, flick it. You'll see it on the roof. That's his mantra. Get yourself signed up for the merch, the Flying Bogey merch, on the way in a no shop near you soon.
Oh, flipping out. I mean, it's great to see that, you know, he's back at full chat in this race again, fighting with Austin Greatrex, but still, you know, Austin's gained 2 more positions than him, making his way through the field. And I think, really, we've got Mr. Greatrex at his very best tonight. He's had a few shaky rounds in the past, hasn't he? He's been caught up in incidents that weren't his fault, and he's dropped points in unnecessary ways sometimes, but now Austin really looks like he's fired up for this, and like you say, knowing that he's going to miss that round, he wants to make sure that the ones he's in, at least, he gets the most out of them. And right now, with Tsuruta in front of him, if anything, he's going to use Tsuruta to get his foot in the door and take advantage of any moves that go on ahead of him here, I think.
Well, let's see. I think they could well work together, Tsuruta and Greatrex, making it to the front of the field. And they've got a highly damaged Mark Johnson there as well in car 44. Yeah, the front hood all bent up as well. Paul Riga's going to try and pounce on the wounded Johnson here. And Riga's car might not be in perfect health either after that bit of contact earlier on with the 26th of Joe Fletcher. But no, looks okay. The Porsche Sport machine, not looking too bad at all. And the thing is Paul is doing at the moment running in 10th position. The difference is he's actually doing 65 miles to the gallon at the moment. He's one of the best fuel-safe drivers you'll ever see. Shame it's not really relevant in a 25-minute sprint with no pit stop, but nevertheless.
No, you're absolutely right.
Frugality.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's something to put on the CV, isn't it, at the end of the day? Here is Paul Goffin then, currently running in 6th position. This was as he came across the tri-oval from 4th place. Just maybe going a little bit too hot into turn 1, to say the least. Very close to the back of Pinto's car in front of him. Wow. Manages to recover without a spin or anything, but of course makes life easier for Greatrex and Tsuruta as Sashdev is off the road now. That's down at the 2nd hairpin, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The lost Western Horseshoe problem for Amrik Sashdev. So he's side by side coming up to the kink with Byron Crawford. Byron Crawford there now behind him. So does he lose it all by himself? Does he? Doesn't look like it, you know. Beth. Oh, that is, yeah, a little bit rude there. And Byron Crawford on the naughty step there with Amrik Sashdev. Sashdev will be disappointed at that, to be diplomatic. So battle near the front then. Carmodine's made a break. Carmody has gone past Shepherd. He's made a break to the tune of 1.5 seconds. But here come the cavalry. Tsuruta and Greatrex, they are on a really hot pace as well. And Greatrex, he's boxed in and he doesn't go for the bump draft, interestingly. So Greatrex deciding, no, I'm not sure I can get away with that. So I'm just going to have to follow Tsuruta. Hard on the brakes they go. Tsuruta gets his way around. Does Greatrex though? Does Greatrex get the move done? And Shepherd gives the room. Great racing room given there by Shepherd.
Wow. But
Greatrex through. Great stuff from all concerned.
Yeah, that was really good. There were so many moments there where drivers could have just mistakenly not left space. They could have understeered, they could have oversteered, got a little bit too greedy on the throttle or a little bit too late on the brakes just to try and prove a point in a battle like that. And everybody kept their heads, they kept cool. And now they've managed to both make their way through now. Have Tsuruta and Greatrex. Still 14 minutes, give or take, left in this race now. And that's basically the length of the first race of the night usually. So I think Carwardine now is going to be counting his Scuderia chickens, so to speak. Look at Greatrex's line there. The two different lines onto the banking. So interesting to see. Because you've got Greatrex who really pinches the car to the inside. He brakes a little bit more, trail brakes through the corner, and then uses the shorter line to get the punch off. But Tsuruta lets the car run really wide and keep the speed up as Andrew Parker, he's having a real torrid night, isn't he, Andrew? And he was one of the drivers that really showed a lot of promise at the start of the season, but I'm afraid it's not turned around since it started going slightly south for him, I'm afraid.
Sadly so. Well, let's look at the lap times then again. So Oliver Carmody leads by 1.2 seconds at the moment, which is just outside of drafting range. However, Tsuruta and Greatrex are quite a bit quicker. They're about 0.4 of a second quicker per lap on the last lap, and on outright best pace, they're 0.9 of a second quicker. So with just under 13 minutes to go, at that rate, we could see Tsuruta and Greatrex catching. And again, Greatrex does not even attempt to make a move on Tsuruta. He just continues the bump draft, and that has pushed them forward. And last lap, well, 0.8 of a second quicker, Tsuruta was over Oliver Carmody. So, big thump, that's one of the bump draft. That's Slater. Slater thumps into the rear of James Cummings.
Does indeed, yeah, giving him a right old shove. That will not have felt very comfortable from where James was. But they both carry on though, there was no spins. I think he would have been a bit more annoyed if it would have rotated the car and put him off out of a few positions. We just saw for a second there Pinto leading the AM class from Andrew Shepherd, the two of them very close together. And look at this already, how much these pair have closed in on Oliver Carmody. Not so different this time round with the lines that they take onto the banking. But right now, Carmody is just going to sort of expect them to go past, I think. And Tsuruta is going to be in for quite an easy ride here of making this work. I'm not sure if he's going to... No, he's definitely going to do it before the bus stop, isn't he? And then if he's going to hope to get in front and then still have Carmody between himself and Greatrex, no, he's going to wait till the end of the lap now. Interesting. I would have thought that he might just try and risk it, but then again, late on in the championship here, not long to recuperate if you get it slightly wrong at this point of the season. So he's using his head, and look at that, he's not even pushing yet. What on earth?
Watch Greatrex. Greatrex has set that up all the way to the bus stop. That's a beautiful move from Austin Greatrex. He was actually almost looked as if he was pretending to fuel save. Obviously he wasn't. He was lifting off and giving himself the run out of the bus stop. That was a beautiful piece of driving there from Austin Greatrex. He saw Tsuruta had to, Tsuruta couldn't do much. He had to try and make his way past Carmody, but Greatrex read that perfectly, and he goes from third to first. Just like that. Now, I think that will be the last that Carmody sees of Tsuruta and Greatrex. They are, as you said, Chaz, they really are on a top level tonight, particularly Greatrex.
Oh, yeah.
He might be pushing back that track trip.
Yeah, he really has. He's just taken to this like a duck to water at this round. You know, he's just shown all the right qualities, and it's exactly what he's needed because he wants to prove that he can take this title. As right now, we look at Tom Slater battling away with Stuart Clark. A bit of whiskey and a roast. Not a bad night in.
Oh, yeah, that's the dream. That's what. Super Sundays. Super Sundays, yeah. Absolutely. Rusty's roast and a big glass of Thomason. We need to, like I say, we need to get him a Tomatin Scotch whiskey.
Yes.
Livery for next season to Tom Slater. 10 minutes to go here then at Daytona International Speedway. Austin Greatrex, your leader, from Christian Tsuruta with Oliver Carradine. Indeed, he's dropped back about a second and a half now to Tsuruta. So Great Rex and Tsuruta making a break. Now, where is Johnny Cullen? He's still back in 15th. Last lap by 142.2 for Cullen. So
watch him now, though.
Quick.
He's in this. Oh,
Byron Crawford in the wall.
Oh, Byron's just bounced off him. Odd physics there for him to hit the back of the car in front and go, but I think he was already going sideways after he compromised his line. But they were side by side in front of him and they didn't need to do it. You know, neither of them wanted to back out. But as I saw Cullen behind, just as you mentioned Johnny Cullen, he appeared in shot. And all of a sudden he was there to take advantage of moments like this. But they didn't need to remain side by side. Stuart Clark gives plenty of room, takes a much slower line there. And I don't think Byron expected him. Oh, he did get a little bit out of shape, actually. So he had to sort of just tap the brakes, slow the car down. I don't think Byron was ready for it. And then, of course, Johnny Cullen's had the 2 freebies. And then he jumps in front of Tom Slater as well. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and again, you can just see him. In fact, yeah, doesn't quite expect him to check up the way he does. And then...
Actually, sorry, Peter, but Stuart Clark is actually back in front of Johnny Cullen now, not the other way around. It's not Johnny going ahead of Tom. But... Johnny Cullen is now behind Stuart Clark again with Stephen Kershaw right behind him.
That's odd. Unless Cullen got a slowdown penalty, but
I think he might have done.
Strange. He must have done, because we did see quite clearly there on camera him going by. So
yeah.
Well, Cullen. This thing is Cullen with those early incidents have really put him on the back foot. But the next 8 minutes are so important to Johnny Cullen's championship aspirations because he's in such a tight battle with Tsuruta. Came in with a 3-point advantage over Tsuruta. One race won, exactly what he needed to do. Tsuruta back in 5th. Even better news for Team Cullen, but it's flipped around here in race 2. So all Cullen can do now is just try and finish as far up the order as he can. You know, just in the next 4 seconds or so ahead of him, he's got 3-4 positions that he can pick up if he pushes on. So that can limit the damage as well. And yes, we know that Cullen is nursing some damage, but so are some of the other cars ahead of him.
Yeah, that's it. He needs to just keep pushing. There's no point taking your foot off the gas in a race like this now, especially when you've got so much on the line and you know that there's not many rounds left in this championship, like I said before, to recuperate any sort of poor results. It's an intriguing time, and it's obviously a pressurising time. Cullen has moved ahead of Stuart Clark, I can tell you. He's gone up into 13th place. Tom Slater's actually having a belter of a race, you know. He's gained 14 places from where he started. Mark Johnson going a little bit deep into the horseshoe. Gives it a bit of a flick of the tail on the exit as well. It looks lovely. Clark's come back at Cullen, though. He says, no, thank you, sunshine. Have a bit of that. And, well, Johnny Cullen now, he's got his work cut out here. He's not just sort of lying down and letting him go, is he? He's not taking this line down as Stuart, although he's gone a bit deep into the second hairpin, but still no. Look at Cullen just dancing this car on the throttle. It's glorious to watch. But Stuart Clark, you know, he's won races outright in this championship. He's shown us before that he's quick enough to get the job done, and right now he's putting up a great fight with championship leader. Love to see it.
Yeah, let's go see how Cullen in the draft of Stuart Clark here and see what he can do, if he can get a run, or whether the damage that he's incurred earlier in the race has held him back. He is starting now to here we go now. We're starting to pick up a bit of a draft. Is Cullen going to make a move at the bus stop? He's signalled he's going to have a go. Yes, through he goes. And gave Stuart Clark plenty of warning there that he pulled out. He's in the mirror, his lights are in the mirror, and he's saying, I have not pulled out of your draft for no reason. I am gonna go for this. Be ready. And made the move very nicely. Good stuff there from Johnny Cullen. Fausto Pinto, mind you, he is in 3rd overall, battling here with Carradine. He's gone by Carradine. He's caught Carradine. Amazing stuff. So it's going back and forth all the time. And then Carradine says, no, you don't. I'm a pro driver. No, your place in the pecking order. Never going to happen. Fausto Pinto, he's got work to do as well.
He has now.
A little bit too. Yes, he does too much. As Shepard will go by for the AM class lead, does he? No, not quite. So Pinto back to 6th overall, but hangs on to the AM class lead with Shepard there in 7th. Now, where is Kershaw? Kershaw's back in 15th. Crucially, though, 3rd in the AM class.
Yeah, indeed. Kershaw, he is a long way back in terms of outright position, like you say, but still, it's enough for a podium. within his class. And Pinto's always gone well. Oh, there's a big send by Chris Byram in the background on Shepherd, and Pinto will thank him for that one there. That buys him a bit more time. But Pinto has always gone well here at Daytona. He raced here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge in the BMW M4. Granted, it had an amazing top speed, but he was right up there at the front of the field after having a bit of a miserable start to the season. So he's certainly a guy that likes this circuit a lot. He knows exactly how to deal with it and how to attack it. And it's great to see some of the AM drivers, they're not just sort of letting them get away with it with the pro drivers. They're still putting up a fight and they're saying any position will do. I'm going to try and go for it. I like that. It's good fun. It certainly keeps it entertaining rather than seeing the AMs just sort of roll over and move out of the way as such, as we've had a drama for Tom Slater, I'm afraid. After having such a great race so far, the commentator's curse is taking its time to slot in here, as so is Tsuruta, trying to get past Greater X for the lead. It's now a two-horse race at the front here, Peter.
It is. This pair have been battling it out ever since they broke past Oliver Carbadine. And Tsuruta trying to make his move there on Greater X with nothing doing just yet. Johnny Cullen up into 11 just as we speak. Tom Slater then. Well, let's see what happened then to Slater in the Thomason Whiskey Machine, heading up towards the Le Mans chicane with Stuart Clark behind him. Oh, loses it on the brakes. The rear comes around, so loses the rear. Does Tom Slater, and somehow, no, he doesn't. I thought he was going to say he kept out the barrier, and then it's almost as if he found reverse rather than first there, and the rear wing of that 911 RSR is seriously deformed. Now, 3 minutes and 25 seconds right now. It'll be 2 to go when we get to the flag. So, Greater X leads from Tsuruta. Now, Greater X isn't necessarily in the championship fight, given that he's going to miss around, or certainly is a lot tougher. So, he, going for a race when he's got less to lose. Tsuruta has everything to lose here, because he needs these points to catch up Cullen after race 1. And Cullen, he has got himself up into 11th spot now. So, it's game on here in the pro class. We're going to got to keep our eye at two ends of the timing screen, Chaz.
Yeah, and that's the sort of races that we love, isn't it? It's not just watching the leaders, or it's not just watching guys battle for the podium. I mean, we are watching the battle for the podium right now, but still, we do have to really look at every position and think about the maths, think about how it's going to affect the championship. Rob Sharp round the outside here of Paul Goffin, side by side as they cross the line, almost identical as they cross said line into turn 1. Sharp breaks a little bit earlier. Goffin goes for the inside line, keeps it nice and tidy, and down the inside in the background, Fausto Pinto's fighting with Chris Byram. They're still side by side. Byram's around the outside and gets it done. Rob Sharp's now going to have to wait for a couple of corners to try and line up another attack on Goffin. Carwadine in there as well, waiting for his potential opportunity to just send one up the inside and catch them out. Byram's gone deep at the International Horseshoe. Pinto's gone back ahead. There's so much happening near the front of the field, Peter. This is beautiful stuff. These two need to be careful getting that close together before the kink. Pinto's on the inside. It's so easy to put a wheel on the grass there and go straight on. Byram looks like he's not gone deep. Wow, it really looked like he was going deep there, but he got it stopped. Fair play.
Yeah, great stuff from Chris Byram. He's driving really, really well. And again, that then brings the AM class competitors back together then. So Fausto Pinto is kind of fallen back into the clutches here of Andrew Shepherd for Scuderia Chicken House. So it's Dempsey Pinto Racing versus Scuderia Chicken House. Go on.
Is it Fausto Winto or Winner Chicken Dinner?
Oh, I wonder.
That was bottom of the barrel, I'm sorry.
Who's going to be...
Connery's not even got... Connery's camera isn't even on, but I know that he's shaking your head, Connery.
I can hear him groaning. Yes, well... now, this is going to be tight, actually. Yeah, no, in fact, this will be the penultimate lap. So 1 to go when they reach the stripe. Still Greater X who leads. They're 9 seconds up the road already. So they're in a whole world of their own. And, Greater X just having a little wiggle there, trying to break the trap. The Tsuruta got a good run. Tsuruta, he's going to pick it. He's going to lick it. Is he going to flick it? No, he's going to leave it sitting there and he's going to hold it in reserve. And
stick it to the bottom of the desk for later.
Put it just conveniently under the desk, let it harden a bit, and then, sorry. Greater X is going to hang on for one more lap then as well. And you know that Tsuruta's going to have a go. You know he's going to have a thrash. He's a proper racer. He's raced in the real world. He's raced Caterhams, etc. You know he's going to have a bash at it, as well as, a bit of a mistake there for Sharp. And the battle's on for the podium. Sharp and Goffin side by side up towards the kink. Who's going to be bravest? I tell you, Goffin's going to try and stick it around the outside. And Oh, and he's got to now look behind now, does Goffin in the yellow SRN car. Looking back to the Rusty Rose machine. Excuse me, the 1110th machine of Carbadine, and then Byram's come in for the fun then as well, and just for a bit of extra value, Pinto and Shepherd battling away for Am. But overall race lead, here we are up on the high bankings. Greater X has got a bit more of an advantage here than I might have thought. Is Saruta going to leave a little bit of a run up here, just break that little bit earlier? No, he's going to go deep in, he's going to try and put the pressure on early. And Greater X gets on the power earlier. Now, did either of them break track limits? I don't think they did, I think they're okay. But remember, Greater X was in this position in race 1. In race 2, he is now being chased rather than the chaser. Here comes Saruta then. Is he close enough? Has he got enough of a run? You know, I don't know if he does.
No, I don't
but
think
here
he does.
comes the slipstream. Greater X is trying to break it. Here comes Saruta. The flag is waving. Flash of the lights for Greater X, and Greater X wins then from Christian Saruta.
Saruta got a horrible run out of the bus stop. He went in a little bit too deep and didn't quite get the pace across the line. And there is a touch. Carwadine just beats Byron to the line. Pinto wins in the AM class. Shepherd is going to finish second, so it was Fausto Winto. But look at these two at the front. What a great entertaining race they gave us there, Peter, as they made their way respectively through the field, didn't get in any dramas, and just streaked ahead of the rest, over 10 seconds clear of Rob Sharp in third place. And what a great podium that is for Rob as well. He really worked hard for that one. He's had a great night at the races tonight. A fourth place and a third place. Really beautiful stuff.
It is absolutely fantastic from Rob Sharp. He'll be delighted with that, as will Fausto Pinto. That's how you bounce back. His fifth place in class in race 1. A bit of a quiet race 1 for Fausto Pinto, but my goodness me, did he bounce back there, and that is critical for his championship charge.
And as well, Stephen Kershaw is the only driver in the AM class to be on both podiums here this evening, and he needs that for his championship as well. Finishes third in that one, won the AM class in the first race, but unfortunately Drew Fletcher and Ryan Penny not quite having the results to get both podiums there. Ryan Penny did finish fifth in class in that one, but obviously Drew was taken out by the really big incident that we saw before. But another great entertaining race and a great night comes to an end.
It certainly does, with Austin Greater X a winner yet again and yet another reverse grid race. Christian Saruta finishes just behind in second and scores key points for the championship. Rob Sharp rounds out the podium after a superb drive. Paul Goffin was fourth, holding off Oliver Carbadine, with Chris Byram finishing just behind in sixth. Then it was Fausto Pinto, your AM class winner, seventh overall, just edging out Andrew Shepherd for Scuderia Chicken House. Paul Riga came home in ninth, and Johnny Cullen, a very good recovery considering his early difficulties, to finish in the top 10. A great recovery. James Cummings was 11th, followed by Mark Johnson, Stuart Clark, Stephen Kershaw, Henrik Sashdev, Ryan Penny, Andrew Parker, Kim Such, Gilles Gardner and David Patchett. And quite a few not making it to the flag. Tom Slater, Danny Jones, Byron Crawford, Drew Fletcher, Ralph Meyer and Mark Elvin. So, a little bit of bumper cars on the Daytona banking. I knew they were in a rush for something. I thought they're going pretty quick for an in-lap. I always thought they're on their way to the pub, but no, they're wanting to do... the groundskeeper Willie is going to go bananas when he sees that, as after Saruta and Greater X have made a mess of the infield here at Daytona International Speedway. Some superb racing in there, Chaz.
Yeah, that was mega. A really, really good night of racing. I think we all knew that Daytona was going to be a good one, and tonight it did not disappoint at all. The slipstreaming here and the mind games that go into racing at the top level like this really did play to part of the story, and I certainly enjoyed that one. And, well, I mean, to be honest, like you said before, Peter, we go to two very different circuits after this. Alton Park, which is about as wide as my mouse mat, and then we've also got Le Mans, which is where this car was developed to just work and run at its very finest. So, yeah, two real treats, and even the formats are different for those races as well. So, plenty to think about, but I think everyone's going to come away from this, in most cases anyway, with a big smile on their face, because that was a great night.
Well, we certainly have. We certainly enjoyed it. Well, we've got lots of drivers in to have a chat to, so why don't we get in our race 2 winner, Austin Greater X, who is down with Chaz Draycott.
Austin, you must be very, very pleased with tonight, mate. I think a lot of drivers, while they'll come away from this with a smile on their face, we're probably going into tonight not knowing what to expect, because the slipstream and everything here can really level the playing field, can't it, sometimes?
It can. Good evening, gents. After practice, seeing that me, Christian, and Johnny had a little bit of pace advantage over, to be fair, Rob Sharp and James Cummins were both right up there. I thought the first race it's gonna could be one of 5, and obviously we're all battling. And the second race, I just thought, play it safe. We've got the pace to get through, and then we'll see what happens near the end.
Well, it certainly looked like an entertaining run through the field as well in that second race. Obviously, the battle in the first race with Johnny it is all about mind games, isn't it? Did you think that you could maybe just get him at the end though with the slipstream to the line?
No, I should have been in front. The draft wasn't as bad and easy as I thought it would be. And I ruined the bus stop slightly. So as soon as he moved right, it's the only reason I didn't follow his draft, because I knew regardless I wouldn't catch him. So I just tried staying straight to not scrub any speed at all.
Well, we saw the same actually for Zaruta at the end of that one. He tried to set it up and make sure he took a tighter line through the bus stop to get the slingshot off, and he just went a little bit deep and had to correct on the exit, and that's what lost him the speed. But still, the two of you together, it must have been quite enjoyable sort of making your way through the pack like that as a pair, because when you're doing it on your own, it's still great to make that sort of progress, but when you've got a sort of companion coming with you like that, it puts a bit of a smile on your face, doesn't it?
It's great, and knowing that, unfortunately for Johnny, I don't think he had as good run through the field as us, so I just knew to play it sensible behind Christian, and we could have a good battle. And I think there was one bit that he went round the outside at turn 1, and I thought, if Christian's doing it, I'm doing it as well. What's the worst that can happen?
Well, that's it. It's sometimes just sort of following the trend in races like this when you have to pick your way through so many positions. Obviously, the talking point for us is that you're not going to be around for every single round of the season now. I say that as if there's like 15 left. Obviously, the last 2. Are you going to be at one of them or neither of them? Do you know yet?
I'm here for Le Mans, so the race in the fortnight's time. Unfortunately, I will be finishing a track day at Zandvoort whilst this race is going on. So
That's not a bad thing, really, is it?
not really, but no, I'm gutted to miss it, because it's pretty much with the drop round going to rule me out of a chance of fighting for the championship. But I'll be watching, see how Christian and Johnny get on and everyone else.
Well, either way, Austin, we hope you enjoy the track day and have a fantastic time at Zandvoort. I'm sure you will, mate. And, we certainly look forward to seeing you back at Le Mans, though. It's going to be great to have you there for the finale. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
Just you broadcasters, as always, everyone that takes part, all the organisers of the PCGB. It's been a great season so far. We've tried something different, and I'm really enjoying it.
Beautiful stuff. Well, always a pleasure, Austin. Very well done on the results tonight. A fantastic night for you. And again, have a great, great time at Zandvoort, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great evening.
Cheers, you too. There we go, then. Austin Greytrack's very happy man after that.
That's great to see, because there was points of the season where Austin's been a bit unhappy after some of the races, which we don't like to see. It's great to see him cheesing after a great race meeting. Now, I want to have a chat with Christian Saruta, because it's been a kind of story of 2 races for Christian. Christian, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box.
Hello.
Now, let's start with race 1, because we can get into the gloating about how well race 2 went in a moment. But let's talk about race 1, because you sort of languished in a lonely 5th. What happened in the opening laps? Because you had the pace of the front runners, but didn't kind of get away in the group. What happened?
I got a time penalty on the exit of the bus stop, so I had to slow down and lost 2 seconds to the guys at the front. And then I missed the tow train. I was too late for it. So it was just continuously just yo-yoing a little bit. But the guys behind Austin and Johnny were just stuck in their toes, so they were matching their pace. So I was just level pegging with Austin and Johnny the whole way through, but not able to catch anyone. So it was a bit of a frustrating race.
Do you make a habit of missing trains, Christian?
I hate trains, clearly.
I mean, trains themselves are fine. It's the people on them.
No, I'll do everything I can to avoid a train. I absolutely hate
trains. Now, race 2, I mean, it couldn't have really gone a great deal better. I mean, tell us about carving through the pack there so quickly. It went superb.
Well, I could have won. That would have been
you could have. Yeah.
No, well, I'm amazed I got through that unscathed. There's so many times where I was like, oh, someone's going to plough into the side of me, or I had to get on the brakes to avoid someone chopping me off. It was a bit of a hectic race for the first few laps, but once Austin and I got away, I tried to use my Caterham racing knowledge by not doing anything until the last lap, because it was completely pointless, because you just get towed to the line. But Austin clearly has done a lot of practice for the Daytona 24 hours recently, because he was very quick through that bus stop.
Well, he'll maintain he's done no practice, but I'm not sure I believe him.
Of course he will.
I think he's done loads of practice.
I've seen his stream with 1,000 laps on the counter. I've seen it. There's live video evidence of it, so he can't avoid that one.
And final question for you, Christian: when is the Pick It, Lick It, Flick It merch T-shirts coming out?
Well, the production company has been contacted. I've avoided China, of course. It'll be produced locally. It'll be high quality, and it'll be available in. I don't know where it'll be available, but I'm sure I'll throw something together.
ChristianSarutaRacing.com.
Yeah, something like that. No, the traffic will be terrible because no one will know how to spell my name, so maybe not that.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Christian, great drive tonight, and can't wait to see the end of this championship. It's going to be a thriller.
Yeah, it's a bit it's spicing up, isn't it? So looking forward to the next couple.
Thanks, Christian.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
So time for one more, Chaz. I shall leave you to pick.
Oh, let's have a word with. Let's complete tonight's podium, and we'll have another chat with Rob Sharp. Rob, you must have been loving that tonight. 2 fantastic results for your championship, 4th and a 3rd. Talk us through getting the Daytona podium. You must be beaming after that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I was convinced it was going to be carnage at the start, just because of the nature of the track and things. So it was really good that everybody was really well behaved. It was a great start from the whole field, and then it was just a case of trying to pick our way through. And that battle with Paul for the second half of the of race 2 was tremendous. So yeah, it was. I didn't think. I thought if I can get into the top 10, it would be great. So to come 3rd is way beyond my expectations.
And I mean, what was this car like, sort of matching this circuit tonight? We all knew that it was going to be a beautiful car track combo, but it looked like through some of the corners, the pace of the thing was absolutely unbelievable. It looked great.
It hangs on. I mean, the coming out of the bus stop, it's incredible how it hangs on. It's just, it doesn't. You think, oh, it's not going to do it, but it does. Yeah, it's really fast. I mean, I'm sure other people have mentioned that you top out on the straights when you've got a little bit of draft. There isn't that much to play with, so it's actually very difficult to overtake. Very tricky, but managed a few there, thankfully, without getting into any trouble. And I nearly blew it on the last lap as well at the horseshoe because I ran wide, locked up, but just managed to hold it.
Well, holding on to it is going to be the aim of the game in 2 weeks' time at Alton Park. It's definitely a lovely circuit, but a difficult one. What are your thoughts going there?
Yeah, my local circuit. But yes, absolutely. It's very narrow. It's very difficult to overtake at the best of times in any car, let alone this monster. So I think the name of the game will be carnage. I don't know. I think, or perhaps patience, because it's just going to be very difficult to overtake. So yeah, not particularly looking forward to that. It's such a narrow track, but we'll all have a good time. It'll be fun at the end of the day.
Oh, I'm sure you all will, Rob. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to you as always, mate. Well done on the great results tonight, and we look forward to seeing how you get on in the last 2 rounds of the championship. We'll see you soon.
Thanks very much, Chaz. Bye-bye now.
Cheers. I love interviewing Rob. He's such a nice bloke, and he's always got a really good outlook, a really positive outlook on every race meeting he goes to. Even when he's had a really poor night with results, if he's had incidents and spins and whatever, and he's a bit frustrated at it, he just says it how it is, but he says it in such a constructive and well thought out way. It's really good speaking to Rob.
Word on the street is that he signed a big money deal with Penguin to do all their audiobooks. I mean, you could listen to him all day, couldn't you?
Oh, he's got a hell of a voice.
Inspirational speaking. Well, final thoughts, Chaz. 2 rounds to go. Alton Park, Le Mans, Greater X versus Cullen, Pinto versus Kershaw, and whoever else decides to have a charge at the end of the season. You don't want to miss the next couple of weeks here on RaceSpotTV and the Porsche Club of Great Britain.
You definitely don't. It's going to be fantastic. Like we've been saying tonight, so many differences between the two circuits that we're going to, and different formats as well. We've got an endurance race at Le Mans as well, so it's not even like the drivers have 2 races to make up the points they need. It's going to be one big race, and it's going to be such an exciting one as well. Obviously, coming to my local next week. I'm only 9 miles from Alton Park. Sorry, in 2 weeks' time, not next week. It's going to be a big challenge, and I think that's definitely going to highlight the quickest drivers in the championship, that one, because that is a very skill-based circuit. It's so narrow, it's so undulating, and it's one of those old-school tracks where if you do touch the grass, you're in a barrier before you know it. There's no second chances at all.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Well, no second chances for missing out on in 2 weeks' time here at on RaceSpotTV for the penultimate round of the season at Alton Park. A huge thank you to Midas Simulation and Porsche Centre Chester for their support of the series as well. But from myself, Peter Mackay, and my broadcast partner, Chaz Draycott, from us all here at RaceSpotTV, thanks so much for watching and good night.